Welcome friends to EPG Pathshala. If you can recall, in the previous sessions we had done stored procedures and triggers and we did it in MySQL. Now is the time to integrate those stored procedures and triggers into PHP. So, our today's topic is integrating stored procedures and triggers into PHP. So, let us now start with the learning objectives, what all we will cover today. PHP and data objects, PDO and services, calling stored procedures and triggers into PHP, and program implementation of stored procedures and triggers. Now friends, if you remember, when we had created stored procedures and triggers into MySQL, the editor which we were using was MySQL Workbench. Now we are calling the tables or the procedures or triggers created into MySQL into PHP. So PHP, as you have already learnt into your earlier modules, that what is PHP. So PHP, a recursive acronym for hypertext preprocessor, is a widely used web development language. So first of all, the first thing let us see is a PHP. Open source web development language which is used for web development and can be embedded into HTML. You can use any text editor for writing code into PHP like Notepad or Notepad++. Various frameworks are also available for managing PHP code, but frameworks we will be looking at a later stage. So here when we are saying that we are using PHP and we need to access the database, so we need certain services which need to be started or which need to be integrated. My dear friends, because you might have used PHP, you would have also used either XAMPP or WAMP servers. So you already know that you need to start the services for Apache, for MySQL, etc. So first of all, let us see the flow of starting the services and then we go to our program. So, XAMPP, you see a module like this whenever you go and start the PHP service. Now, here one important part is, as soon as you are starting Apache, if you have your personal web server, you might be using any web server, because we are looking from students' point of view. We assume most of the time that all of you are working on local host. So, because you are having a local server, you must be having Apache installed. You must be having various services for database, for PHP. So, in order to use those services, we have one personalized web server available also. So, whether you are using WAMP or you are using XAMPP, you can start Apache and you can start MySQL. But my dear friends, one point to note importantly here is, if you are having MySQL Workbench installed, you might have issues running PDO or running the data objects of PHP, because MySQL reserves the port 3306 as its data objects and it conflicts with the data objects of PHP. So, we would also see how you troubleshoot. So, first of all, when you are starting the XAMPP service, here you can observe that we have already started Apache service, but MySQL service is not starting and it is giving me error. So, what is the problem over here? So, I need to troubleshoot either XAMPP or MySQL. Your XAMPP is working fine. Now, if you are not able to connect to the database object, how you will troubleshoot those database services? So, there are various files which need to be considered. You could make changes to my.ini, you could make changes to php.ini, you could make changes to services.mstc. So, first of all, you will have to check which of your service or which of your file is having the problem and we could troubleshoot accordingly. Dear friends, what is the need or why am I discussing this? Because we have observed with most of our students that it does not take time in coding the database or coding the connectivity. But whenever you are writing your whole program and then eventually you get that database could not be connected or database always throws errors. Students usually fail to understand that why the database is creating problems. And that is why even before connecting to the database, let me tell you that if you have troubleshooted already that which data objects are giving you problems, after writing your code you will not get any issue, and you could refer this at a later stage. Whenever you are getting any connectivity related error, you can refer this, that what are the checkpoints which need to be considered. So, first of all we will see your XAMPP file, that is your MySQL port. Now, if you observe the file name over here, your my.ini, you can open my.ini from Apache also, that on MySQL you open configuration, it will allow you to open. Here if you observe, I have changed the port to 3307 instead of 3306. By default you would be having the port as 3306. You can change it to 3307 and your error for database connectivity would disappear. After changing this, even if you are not able to start from XAMPP, you can type services.msc in run command. How do you open run? You press your Windows button and R, Windows plus R will open run for you. There type services.msc and here you can start MySQL service, and your MySQL service will automatically start from here, and you will have database connectivity for your data objects, and this will solve your problem of MySQL not starting. So, time being you can forget starting MySQL from XAMPP. These issues you will get only if you have Workbench installed. If you are not having Workbench installed, you might not have any issues, your database connectivity might ride smoothly. But this are for those, because we have done stored procedures and triggers into MySQL Workbench. You people might have installed Workbench. So, this is the way how you should start your services even before writing your connectivity program. So, now after troubleshooting the basic services with how actually data access objects are into PHP. Now, you people already know what is PHP MyAdmin, right? You have studied PHP MyAdmin module also in the earlier sessions. PHP MyAdmin basically is PHP's own data access client, we could say. If I am comfortable with MySQL Workbench, I might not use PHP MyAdmin. But if you do not want to go to any third party, you do not want to access external database, you can make use of PHP MyAdmin. PHP MyAdmin would also display you the list of all the tables, databases created into your MySQL. All the stored procedures and triggers also created in MySQL would automatically integrate in PHP MyAdmin. So, the screenshot of the PHP MyAdmin which I am showing you is, here you could see that our test schema which was there into Workbench is automatically integrated over here. My tables are over here. So, I can directly access my database instance from PHP MyAdmin also. It is your wish then that you want to use PHP MyAdmin or you want to use the MySQL Workbench. It all depends completely on student's choice. So, now let us come to the data objects. Now, PHP uses certain data objects for connectivity. There are, you might have heard the term PDO, you also have done PDO in previous sessions already. So, there are PHP data objects available as well as MySQL connect functions are also available. Again, it is user's choice or student's choice to which one to access. I am more comfortable with MySQL Connect because our data, our procedure and triggers are into MySQL Workbench. So, first of all, let us see the data objects into PHP, the comparative analysis of the data objects available. As I said already, PDO, SDO and various functions like MySQL Connect, MySQL iConnect, etc. SDO is usually dedicated for unstructured data, XML type of data sources, etc. And the comparative analysis, if you see of PDO and MySQL, here you could observe that PDO supports only object oriented programming, but MySQL I would also support you with the procedural capabilities, and that is why I say that I use usually MySQL I, but both are equivalent. If you are, when we are using only object oriented programming, it is completely fine whichever data object I use. And performance, both are faster, stored procedure both do support, but again here there is a note that both are supporting the stored procedures after version 5.1, that MySQL inherently did not have support for stored procedures. Stored procedure support is coming after version 5.1. Okay. So, we come to our basic database connectivity testing. Now, when I want to write a basic database connectivity testing code, I will just have to create an instance of the database. I check whether that instance returns me the value true. I return the, respond to the user that connected, else I say it is not connected. So, our program, here we have passed the database name as test, user root, password you could write your password, host is localhost. Here remember that I have written 2, you could see first line as comment of MySQL connect. Now, if you have done previous versions of PHP, initially we used to have MySQL connect and the newer one is MySQL I connect. So, some versions, the newer versions of PHP have stopped the support of MySQL connect. So, if you are using MySQL connect, your PHP might throw error for you that no such function available. So, it is always advisable to use MySQL I connect. I am passing the parameters over here which I have already defined, that is host, user and password, and I am saying or die. So, if it is connected, it will give me connected successfully. So, when I want to test this, I have to go to the browser and write my program name in the local host. You could see the message I am getting connected successfully. This is basic database testing. Okay. Now, we go to the stored procedure, that is the procedure which we are writing, which we are calling into our program. So, the stored procedure which we have written. Now, here if you observe that the table, if you remember, we created employee table and we had the fields like employee ID, name and salary. And if you remember, we had created the procedure called get salary and we used to fetch the salary based on the employee ID provided. The same procedure we are calling over here. So, here as you observe, I have written get salary as the title. The table and all stuff, HTML stuff you people already know, we will not emphasize on it. The host, database name, username, password, whatever your password. And here I am using here PDO, because as I told you already, I will be showing you example of both PDO as well as MySQL connect. So, here I am using PDO and I have passed username, password and all the stuff. I am fetching the data into the variables that my variables are passed and the value is returned. Here you display in the tabular format employee name and salary, and once you are displaying employee name and salary, I will iterate into a loop that while the value is fetched, here keep appending the data into the table, that is employee name and salary. Here if you observe that we are passing a rupee symbol along with, I am embedding a rupee symbol along with my salary. If you have your older keyboards are there, then if you want to embed, you can write Control 8377 and you could embed the rupee symbol. Now, after finishing, after writing this program, you will be going to the browser and testing or calling your program, that is executing your program. So, let us have the testing of this program. So, now when I run my program, as you can see, my employee name and salary from the table are displayed, and your tabular format is there, or HTML and table and cells, whatever we have been doing, that is all what we have done. So, that is it about testing of the procedure. But one thing to remember over here is, again when I am calling a procedure from my MySQL or MySQL database, here if you observed we used PDO or whether you are using MySQL. It is important that the data access objects which you are using are completely integrated with your tables or schemas. You already know that I am displaying employee name and salary. I should take care that when I am displaying name and salary, I make appropriate arrangements of formatting in my front end layer. We are here talking about the data layer, we are talking about the presentation layer. So, data I am fetching from third party or from my data object externally. So, all the formatting requirements I should consider, else if I would not have used a table over here or I would not have displayed my data like this, then my numbers, some might have be displayed as left aligned, right aligned, and that is why we have used table, we have used TD, TR, and I am sure you people are very good at designing, you are very good at using PHP designing. So, no need of saying that. Only thing to clarify is take care of formatting aspects when fetching data from a third party control. Now, another object which we created were triggers. To see the effect of triggers, what we will have to do? We either have to pass any of the DML statements and we could auto see the effect of triggers. So, passing any DML statements would be writing insert, update or delete query. So, we are writing here an update statement and looking at the effect of our trigger. So, let us now go to the trigger. So, we are going for trigger update of update employee. So, here if you observe the title which I have given, trigger effect with update employee, again I am passing the host, all the parameters required, and here we are doing MySQL connect. In the previous one, if you remember, we did PDO. So, this example I am taking with MySQL connect, passing the parameters host, username, password and the database name. If could not connect, of course, throw the error. I am accepting the employee ID and salary from the user. Whichever employee ID and salary the user enters, we would be updating that record. So, here the salary which is accepted, we have written update employee, set salary is equal to the salary accepted, where employee ID is equal to the ID accepted. Executing the query. Now, if the value is fetched into the query, here if you observe the parameters of remember we have used MySQL connect, all the parameters would be MySQL query, MySQL connect, etc. So, coming back to our function, here the parameters you can look at the parameters which we are passing. Now, if it is not returning the value, of course, you would throw error that no such data or no such employee record. If it returns, we are displaying the message updated the data successfully. One thing here, this table part or the tabular part, TD, TR, everything you people know already. So, we are not discussing this into detail, but the way you want to display your data, that is how you want to accept the data from the user, it completely depends on you. You want to accept in form of a text box, you want to accept in tables or whatever way you are accepting your data from the user, that you can decide. This code we have already provided to you, you can use as it is as well, accepting the data in the text box, right. So, now after writing the program of trigger, when we go and execute the trigger, it is I am providing employee ID 1 and 2000, updated the salary. Now, here I check into the table. Here let me remind you that when we created, why am I going and checking into the MySQL workbench? It is possible for you to have another form which can display you the data immediately fetched from the table. You can write that program as well. But here we are going and checking into the MySQL workbench. Why? Because I want to check the trigger effect. Here I have issued a DML statement. That DML statement, if you could recollect, we had written after update trigger onto that DML statement, which entered the data automatically into employee log table. So, here we would be looking the effect of this DML statement at two places. First, whether the amount is updated, and second, whether the corresponding entry is made into employee log table. So, first is selecting from employee. So, here you say select star from employee, whatever amount you entered here, we gave 1 and we said 2000, I am writing 5000 and I say update. Now, again I go to MySQL workbench and I say see from employee, here it is 2000 which has become 5000. Now, I need to check that into employee log table. Employee log, this entry already you will find the recent entry being that employee 1 was updated from 2000 to 5000. So, this is the trigger effect, the trigger thing which we did, and we called the data objects, into your PHP program. You could use all the stored procedures or triggers or integrate such type of data objects into your PHP form, and these are the very basic examples. You could write much complex queries, much complex database connectivity things, because it is not only now when we are storing data, when we are having dynamic websites, data storage is a must, certain auto insert things are must. So, for those auto insert or auto update kind of queries, you could make use of triggers, and that is it for today's session. In our next session, we would be looking how to send an email from your PHP website and what are the different frameworks which are available in PHP. Thank you so much.